Welcome back to the Against All Odds, the Less Than 1% Chance podcast with your host, Maria Ponte, where we will hear stories of incredible people thriving against all odds. And my hope is that we can all see how life is always happening for us, even when we are the less than 1% chance. Hey, welcome back to Against All Odds, the Less Than 1% Chance podcast with your host, Maria Aponte. I am so incredibly excited for our guest. Her name is Corbie Mitleid. I feel like people literally come into your life when you need it the most. And I just read a comment on a post and I was like, can we talk some more? So I am really, really excited to bring her to all of you. Corbie, give me some background as to what started your Against All Odds story. And then from there, I would love to hear a little bit more about this journey that brought you to the book that I'm reading right now, which I am absolutely loving. And let's just have a quick conversation because I love listening to the dance of your life because I feel like we all have our own dances. And when we learn that it is a dance rather than a struggle or an obstacle or whatever, I feel like that is very powerful. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. I was born into a completely medical family. Dad was a doctor, mom was a nurse. My brother is a doctor who still is world famous for cystic fibrosis and asthma research. Me, I was the actress, writer, hippie rebel. I could have danced on the dinner table and recited Shakespeare, and they never would have gotten me. So I went to Brown University for 2.5 years, was not the right place for me. I left and spent most of my life trying to figure out who I was, what I was meant to give to the world. The short sentence is 3 bouts of breast cancer, 2 divorces, the death of my parents, rape, poverty, abuse. Yeah, I've been there, done that, sold the franchise. Background, have tried everything. I have been a professional actress, author, inspirational speaker, video producer, legal assistant, writer for the graphic novel series ElfQuest, executive recruiter. I was never out of a job, but I would go from place to place to place trying to find out where I was meant to be. It has not been an easy life by any means. I tend to say it was roller coaster, no brakes. But what it has done for me is deepened me, made me much more in touch with the compassion and non-judgment I need to work with clients. And since I was 18, 1973, I have read tarot, later became a psychic medium, and that's now my full-time business and has been since 9/11. So I reach out to people worldwide, basically saying, here are your opportunities and how to grab them. Here's the tough stuff. Here's how to get through it or around it. Here is your toolbox. And teaching them, I'll hand them the toolbox, but I'm not the repairman. Empowering them, showing them that even the toughest stuff they're going through can be used as information to make them more of who they are, more resilient,
absolutely.
more courageous.
I love that. I do the same work in my health and fitness, can give you the tools with workouts, with nutrition programs, with the all natural supplements, all of these things. I can't do the work for you. I can't be at your bed and say, hey, wake up. I need you to go and work out. And hey, that's not my job. I'm an accountability partner for you. I will be there along the way. I will enjoy the ride along with you. However, I could give you the tools, but you have to take control.
You cannot say step away from the double fudge ice cream sundae.
Absolutely
no, you
not.
just
I mean, if you're telling me that this is happening, then I could encourage you to maybe step away. However, those are internal things that I can't even touch because those are the things that you don't tell anybody that's holding you accountable that you're struggling with, right?
yes.
And I feel like that is so completely on point. We work different industries, but I feel like, yeah, I can give you the tools, but you got to do the work. Again, I feel like you came into my life exactly when I needed it myself. And I think that when I experience things myself,
Mhm.
I feel like I'm not experiencing it just for me. I'm experiencing it because I have
Mhm.
the voice to speak up and show people that they're not alone, even if it's not the same thing, the same dance, right? Even if it's not the same dance, someone else is experiencing this too, something similar. And
Yes.
um I really truly feel that's part of my purpose. The chapter that I was listening to earlier was about purpose and finding that. And I feel wholeheartedly that I've gone through many similar things as you in terms of cancer and um, assault and all of these things that I've been through. But I feel like I'm so grateful for that right now because it's made me who I am. I wholeheartedly feel that even with the struggles that my oldest daughter had with mental health, and I would always ask her, hey, do you mind if I speak about this on social media or whatever, and get her permission, but also more because I felt like there's so many parents out there struggling and they don't know what to do. And if I can give some insight on you're not alone, and these are the steps that I've taken, and they may not always be perfect, and we mess up. However, in those moments, I was a single mom and just was dealing with this all by myself. And I felt so alone that it was so important for me to show people that they weren't alone in this journey. And I became a big advocate for mental health because I was literally living it with my daughter every single day. And I definitely feel like that's part of my purpose. I'm connecting so much with your book right now. I feel like I've had to re-examine again my purpose, and I've been through some tough things in the last year that shook me a bit. And I was struggling myself with what is this purpose that I'm like not connecting with anymore. And so you came to my life when I needed it. And I am really, truly grateful for that. So what got you to then use your life dance into then writing a book?
I joke that I will give $50 cold cash to anybody who can really, truly tell me I have never read a
Yeah.
self-help book in my life. We all have. And I remember the first one that I got when I was 13. So this is 1968. And I remember the first sentence. Judy has a groovy wardrobe. Remember, this was the 60s. Her makeup is fab and her hair is far out. But nobody likes Judy because Judy's fat. In one sentence, hundreds of thousands of American teenagers were told, you are worthless unless you
Yeah.
look exactly the way we tell you. And that is what has happened with pretty much all self help books. Do it the way I
Yeah.
tell you, and it all gets better. When I was doing the research for this book, there was a book that said you have to get up an hour early every morning to do yoga and avoid food with leptin. I'm sorry. If you are a single mom with two kids and a job in Milwaukee,
Yeah.
you are not going to do that. So instead, I chose to write a book that basically goes, here's some dumb things I did. Maybe here's a client story, and here's some suggestions. But what you're talking about, those questions, excuse me, those are what I call the adventure pages, and they are specifically designed. So you can't turn to page 82
Yeah.
and figure out the right answer. You have got to plumb the depths of your own life. And when you do, you'll realize you have your own answers. Nobody else is going to tell you
Yeah.
what to do. Let's take the chapter, Why Perfect Isn't What You Think It Is. The questions that I ask make you look inside. Has perfect been a friend or foe in your life? Why? When did the search for perfection stop you from doing something important? How? Think of a challenging situation. and find 3 perfect things about it. How do your feelings about the situation change? These are tools that help you
Yeah.
crack your life open from the things that you have set for yourself as boundaries, limits,
Yeah.
and they open up your life.
Yeah. I definitely feel like this book I'm listening on Audible because I can still listen and pay attention and like get something out of it. But I learned better.
Yes.
Oh
I
my gosh.
loved doing the book. To me, when you write a nonfiction book, if you've got any kind of voice, vocal training, and I do, you can put the passion behind the writing
Yes.
of the book in those words. It's not like a fiction story
Yeah.
where somebody can play a bunch of characters.
Yeah,
You're
and it
getting the
and it
real deal
it shows the depth what your passion for that book or what.
idea.
And yeah, I feel like I know you and this is the first time we speak face to face, because I'm listening to you and your words resonate and I'm loving going through it. But I feel like, so what I really truly love about this book is that it's very tangible. Like you have to truly dig in, and I think that's where people get scared, is to dig in.
Mhm.
They don't want to
Yes.
like clean that closet. They don't want to see what's on the corner of that closet because it's not something that they want to drudge up anymore. They know it's in there,
Mhm.
but they keep it really deep. I feel like I've quoted things from your book all weekend long because my son just turned 18. He's still in school, has this job, and he's not a big fan of his new boss. And the way that they speak to him. And I really truly feel like the relationship chapter was absolutely on point because it isn't only about romantic relationships, it's about relationships with everybody in your life.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
I was taking him to work this morning and he was telling me, Mom, I feel like I have some not so nice things to say and I'm keeping those inside because that's not going to go over well. And I was like, that's not going to help you in any way. You're human. Sometimes people do things that are going to bother you, but keeping that inside is only causing dis-ease in your body. And you continue to pile onto that and
Yes.
it creates disease. I feel like that was my cancer as well. There was so much dis-ease in my body that it created disease. I followed Bob Proctor for many years, and that was something that he was big on saying. And it always stuck with me because it made sense. I was so in a like yucky feeling of blaming and guilt for when I was sexually assaulted at 16, and it was like this just this yucky feeling inside, and it always felt either like I hated this person or I felt guilty because I went through this. And it was just all of these bad feelings that created this disease of cervical cancer for me. And the moment that I
Mhm.
started to work on myself and personal growth, and I went to therapy and I did all the things, that I started to look back and say, okay, I'm not saying that it happened for a reason because I don't feel like there was a reason that it needed to happen, but I could find a purpose behind it. And if I could find purpose in it, then I
Yes.
can make it mean something more than this person violated me. And it was perspective. So I told my son this morning about your chapter on relationships. I said, so if you need, whether you need to let it out to a tree, go for a walk and say all the things you need to say, get it out of your body, or find a person that say to them, I'm not yelling at you, I'm yelling to you because I need to get this out. Like,
Yes.
because this is exactly what, maybe the way that he needed to hear it from that perspective, so that he felt like this permission to be able to have a conversation with somebody and not let it be about them trying to fix it or anything. I just need them to hold space and have that support for me to be able to get this out. And oh my gosh, I'm like all over this book. It is amazing.
That's one of the tools for living the examined life, which is a big thing. This thing is happening and I hate it. I don't want it, but I have to get through it. The first thing you look at is, what can I learn from this? The second thing that I always ask myself, because of who I am, is, how can I teach with this? And then you go next. You don't stay dwelling on it. I found this, and I use this as a perfect example. In 1973, it's backwards, but trust me, I was the state homemaker, the Betty Crocker homemaker of tomorrow for New Jersey. Oh, that was 1973, kids. I don't talk about it now because I have gone on in 50 years. But when you stay stuck on something, you're not allowing yourself to grow. You're not allowing yourself to let it go, use the lesson, and move.
Yeah, absolutely. On. Yeah, I feel like that's been a huge experience for me. I've had my own struggles with letting it go. My dad passed away in October, and I would take him to all his appointments. I was always there. I was so grateful to be able to do that because not everyone can. And I still miss him. I was daddy's girl. And so now I look for signs. And this morning, as I was sitting, just preparing for this conversation, I hear the chirp of a cardinal. And I tell my son before we leave, I'm like, go check if Papa's outside, because that's what they would call him. And he's like, where? And I'm like, I just follow the chirp. I could sense that he is around. I need you to follow the chirp. And he goes out to my workout room that's right outside of here. And he looks out the window and he's like, yes, it is him. I've had to really become somebody that is more aware of those signs now. Where before, yes, I wouldn't have probably heard a chirp of a cardinal and wasn't even aware that there was birds flying above me. And I have had to become, so that I could find purpose in this, that person that listens and is aware of the present and right now. I was leaving to pick up the kid like a few days ago from school, and I walk out and I'm like, I hear you. Where are you? And I turn to get into my car, and behind my house, above the trees, in this like bright green of tree, I see a red cardinal. And I'm like, I see you. Thank you, because I needed to feel your presence right now. And it's important that we become so present. And I try to be the example of that to my kids. And instead of keeping it into myself and just being like, I know that I feel him around me, I want them to become very aware and not necessarily telling him, listen for the birds or whatever, but telling him, hey, I hear the chirp. Go check if my intuition is correct. Yeah. And so that he can then start listening for it when he does it himself. And it's more like to that internal intuition that, so hard as a parent to know how to teach your kids these very important, valuable lessons. And just having that relationship with myself and being very aware and learning that I'm in this new season of my life, that grief is a thing that's very present, and that I'm learning how to show up in that season. But I want to show them, because they've experienced grief themselves, I want to show them how to be so aware and know that he's going to always be around, and that maybe if he's not in this in the body anymore. His spirit is around us always. And so I've become much more aware of those moments so that I can say, he's still around and I could feel him and I could grieve these experiences and still function as a human being. And so it was very hard to explain that to the kids. However, I feel like making them aware of that intuition, I feel like that gives them like that strength to be able to listen to themselves internally and be aware of their surroundings.
That makes a
Yeah.
lot of
So
sense.
I'm really connecting in just beautiful ways to your book. I really feel it's speaking to me. And I know that this is not the only book, correct? You have more?
I have three.
And do they all connect in some way, or are they their individual?
They all connect in that they are nonfiction, and what you get in there is what I've learned through my life. Eventually, there will be two that connect
Okay.
with Clean Out Your Life Closet. The other two are more of
Okay.
my metaphysical side. One of them is The Psychic Yellow Brick Road: How to Find the Real Wizards and
Okay.
Avoid the Flying Monkeys. And I wrote that because there are 6,942 books out there about here's psychic development, you too can do. But there wasn't a book that taught you how to stay safe
Yeah.
when you're looking for intuitive guidance. So that's what The Psychic Yellow Brick Road is about. And what I loved is other intuitives would read the book, they're already working at it, and they're laughing and saying,
Yeah.
oh my God, I wish I had
That's
this
so cool.
when we had started. And everybody's favorite chapter is when not to have a reading, because 95% of the time it's always
Yeah.
does Bruce love me is the first question. And there are some clients that, does Bruce love me? No. Is he gonna love me? Not the way you, well, if I do such and such, will he love me? No. But they keep beating on you until they hope you will finally say, yes, yes, he loves you and he wants 7 babies with you, but he just
Okay.
doesn't know it yet. Oh, good,
No.
I thought so. Don't do this. Another one is, if you are nuts enough to want to do what I do for a living, it's called You've Got the Magic Who Needs a Genie. Because for 18 years, I was on the road 45 weekends a year. My nickname was the Travel Channel, but I got a back injury in 2019, which put the kibosh on the 10 hours in the car and the heavy load in and load out of the gear. But I said, fine, I'm off the road, but there are thousands of people who are still
Yeah.
going to be doing the circuit. And there is absolutely no book out there that talks about how to be a professional psychic out doing expos. So I gave them every single
That's
thing
awesome.
that I knew. So those are the three I've got. The next one, I'm juggling whether it's going to be the big reboot, which is number 2 for the self development series, or a book on elder and apprentice, which is how we boomers need to learn to work with the millennials and Gen Zs who are going to
Yeah.
be the next generation of
Absolutely.
intuitives, because boomers don't get it. It is not the world we grew up in. We never had to worry
Mm-hmm.
about being shot in school, that maybe the world would be uninhabitable when we were still alive, or that because we chose to have a vaccine or vote a certain way or love a certain person or hang out a certain flag,
Yeah.
someone was ready to shoot us dead. When you learn, let them tell you what they need and respond to that instead of going,
Yeah.
well, in my day,
Yep.
which they just
I,
leave
I
us.
love
I have
it.
a
I love your thought process on all of it. It is very difficult. I, again, have a daughter that suffers, I would say, with her mental health. I think it's more than that. I think that she has a spiritual connection that she doesn't know how to put boundaries on, in my opinion. From the experiences that I've lived with her, I feel like that's something that, and she's now 19 years old, and she calls me sometime because she doesn't live with me anymore, and she calls me and she's like, Mom, but I'm like, okay, take a breath. If something's around that you don't want, I need you to tell it to leave you alone. And
there's a book I want to recommend for your daughter. It's how I started learning decades ago. It's still out. It's called Opening to Channel, and it's by Sanaya Roman, Sanaya Roman, and Dwayne Packer. It's very good at teaching you what I call boot camp: ground, center, shield, boundaries, how to know if something is real, how to tell it to get if it's not. And it will give her that protection level that I think you're looking for her to have.
I feel like, especially now that I'm not with her all the time, and then I have a son,
Yes.
to your point, he just turned 18 in July, and I have to make him more aware of, the way that things are changing, and what seemed to be a progression in certain aspects of his world has probably digressed a little bit. And he's got to be prepared for all of this. And I agree. I feel like the generations don't understand I think each generation has their own situations that they have to deal with, but they are so not aware of the things that these kids now are dealing with. And like, we had fire drills when we were in school. They have code red drills now. And it's so scary to think that's what they have to for at this point. And having kids in school and getting texts from the school saying we have a code red drill today. Like, it is not a very simple life that these kids are living. It's not carefree like it used to be. It's so much more in their face, because of social media or just media in general. And I think that it would be so helpful for of different generations to understand how it would be to be supportive rather than just pointing the finger.
Yeah, I know. One of the things that I'm grateful for in terms of Clean Out Your Life Closet is it reaches the younger generations. It can. It's not written from the do everything I do and it all gets better idea. My longest time client has a daughter. I started reading her when the daughter was 4. The daughter is graduating Penn State this year. But when the daughter was in high school and the book came out, my client gave her own copy of Clean Out Your Life Closet. And the daughter said that this book made so much sense and gave her so many tools to get through high school at a very tough time. And to me, that's longevity. That is the idea that what that book teaches will be timeless. It's not the way that first book was in 1968. Nobody would write a book now that says you're worthless unless you're skinny. But that was the time. What I teach are things that are never hurtful, full of compassion, and possible for absolutely anybody who picks up the book.
I'm 40 years old and I'm listening, and it is something that I continue to repeat because I know that my energy is everything. And if my energy is not okay, and if I'm not okay, then how can I build that legacy for generations to come?
Exactly right. That's why I give people what I call my 2 magic phrases.
Tell me.
Which are so useful for creating boundaries and deflecting. Somebody is telling you something about you that you know is not true, but it's their opinion, or it's their opinion on the world and it's not yours. If you engage with them, you're just going to go down the toxic well. You just look at them and smile and say, "Thank you for sharing. You may think that if you wish." And then off you go. You're not disagreeing. You're not agreeing. You're saying, I acknowledge your presence
Bye.
in the world. I'm out of here.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Yeah.
That's all we can do. That is all we can do, is pass on what we've learned to the next generation,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
take our hands off the gift. You know what it's like when you give somebody a gift and then you're, well, how about this? And you should do this, to the
Yep.
point where they put it in the back closet. When you truly give, you take your hands off. You trust that the
Yeah.
gift will give them what they need. And that makes the gift that much more
Yeah.
worth the
Absolutely.
giving.
That's so true. So true. And I would love for the listeners to hear this explanation. Why do you use dance rather than...
Oh, the cancer thing. Because, yes, I have dealt with breast cancer 3 times. Last time was a second primary, which took the danger clock back to 0. But the doctor said 3 strikes, you're out. We're taking the rack, we're taking the ovaries, and you're going from this Dolly Parton figure with a libido of a 17-year-old boy to a fat fire plug with permanent side effects. And we're going to damage you so much internally, you'll never have sex again. Suck it up. And
Oh
I had
my
just been married
gosh.
for 18 months. Did I
Yes,
go home
because
and cry? Yes, I'm normal. But then I said, okay, I have to find 3 reasons to get okay with this. I don't care how stupid they were. First one was, you don't have them, you can't get cancer there. Number 2 was, the top half is not going to get slammed in the refrigerator door at the doctor's every year, and every woman listening
yes.
knows exactly what I'm talking about. 3, implants. Cool, I'll be perky till I'm 93. Walked out of Massachusetts General Hospital in 3 days, shopped for a bathing suit in 5. It's been 19 years. I am still very happily married. In fact, probably our marriage is better now than it was when we
That's
got
awesome.
married in our late 40s. When you say, I'm fighting cancer,
Yeah.
what you fight fights back. When you say, I am a cancer survivor, the whole idea of survivor is hanging on by teeth and toenails. Think about
Yeah.
Tom Hanks in Castaway. When you say, I am a cancer dancer, it means you're finding out how graceful you can be under pressure. You're avoiding getting your toes stepped on, and you're
Yeah.
getting off the dance floor in one piece. It's much more hopeful. And again, you're not, I've dealt with women who 15 years ago they had colon cancer, and their first thing to say is, hi, my name is Jennifer, and I'm a cancer survivor.
Yeah.
What have you
That's
done
what
in
you
15
identify.
years? I talk about my cancer. Right. I talk about my cancer only if it will deliberately and directly
Yeah.
help someone else. But I have a lot more in my life that's far more interesting now, and
Yeah,
I'd much rather talk
absolutely.
about that.
Absolutely. I've never heard of the cancer dancer, and I love that.
Yeah.
Number one, because dance is my happy place. And if I can
Mhm.
relate that journey with happy, that takes me a step forward. So I love that. And number two, I feel like for so much, like our identity is so attached to things, and I am so much more
Mhm.
than someone that had cancer. I think that I truly
Oh,
believe, though, that having cancer has made me who I am today. I'm much more, I think that when you're faced with your mortality, and I spoke about this in my last episode with my brother, um, and when you're faced with your mortality, you learn to love your life now. And it
yeah.
makes
Mhm.
life so much prettier.
I'll give you an example. Look, I ain't perfect, kids. And my back injury in 2019, plus being 68 and having to deal with high blood pressure, cholesterol, that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
I was having a real pity party recently about how many things I'd lost. But then, I'll admit it, I'm a Star Trek person. There is a wonderful actor, his name is Kenneth Mitchell, and he played several different roles on Star Trek Discovery, and then 5 years ago got
Yeah.
ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. Through this entire thing, he has maintained a positive attitude. He
Yeah.
acknowledges everything he's losing. Like, can't speak, can't walk, but he's still there. He still puts out what he has in the world. And that was the wake up call for me. Yeah, I'm creaky when I get up in the morning. Yeah, I can't do ice cream every night with my husband who can do that, like I used to
Yeah.
when I was in my 40s. But look
Yeah.
at everything I still have. And 68 doesn't mean I'm going to die at 70. My intention is I'm going to live until I'm 89 and then I'm going to renegotiate the contract. This is because a gypsy on the Atlantic City boardwalk told me when I was 11 I was going to live until I was 89. But I know
Yeah.
enough to change that narrative. Look at what you have, not what you don't have. Look at your own gifts, not what you don't have. Yep, I am 5'3". I will
I'm
never
five
be
two. I
five
feel you.
six. But I fit exactly perfectly under my husband's chin when we hug. Say, if I
Yeah.
was 5'6", I'd bump his nose. So there you go. There's always a way. There is
Yeah.
always a way to shift the narrative. If you're willing to think, the old think outside the box, you got to think outside the room where the
Yeah.
box is stored. That's where you
Yeah.
find
I
the
love
new
that.
answers.
I love that so much. Yeah, and I agree. I'm tiny as well. I'm a Polly Pocket because I'm 5'2", so we're right around the same height. And my kids hug me and they're all taller than me. All three of them. My almost 15-year-old, her legs are longer than like my hip. It's crazy, but I have to show that I love myself the way that I am, because I can't change that. I can't get taller now. And I think that it might just
No,
go the other
no.
way going forward. I will embrace who I am. Anything else that you feel that is on your heart that you want to talk about?
Yes. Always ask yourself three most important questions. Number one, what am I X about? X is whatever is your emotional state. What am I upset about? What am I afraid of? What am I depressed about? Then, why am I X about that, whatever the situation is? And the question we never ask ourselves, what do I think would happen if I stopped being X about that? When we give ourselves the choice to shift, to understand that life is stimulus, belief, response, we can change our attitude and our
Yeah.
belief system in a moment. And that opens up
Yeah.
so much of your
It,
life. What am I X about? Why am I X about that? What do I think would happen if I stopped being X about
yeah.
that?
I love that. I love that. It just shifts the perspective of anything that you are dealing with at the moment.
Yes,
I love that so
absolutely.
much. Oh my gosh. To my listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I am so excited for you guys to get your ears into this and really connect with her book. It is Clean Out Your Life Closet. I will tag it in here. It is so incredibly on point. You will get so much out of it if you put in the work that you need to put into it. So this is not a book just to listen to. This is a book to listen, apply, like immediately. So I have notes in my Audible app. I have notes on every chapter, and I'm like, as she's talking, I'm typing in what I feel like I need to keep top of mind for that chapter. I definitely recommend that. And then I will put in all of her information on the episode as well. So thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning. And I hope that everyone got so much out of it, just like I did. I hope you have all an amazing rest of your day. Peace out, guys. Love your life.